you just solved the problem because I look at the little light. When I look at the light, I can't see. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. God, I look sunburned. This lighting is terrible.
Well, it was fine until you got it. Well, because you're leaning back and you know.
I'm not sunburned. I'm not sunburned at all. I look like my.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome.
All right, Todd, kick it off. Go, Todd.
No,
go, Todd. Go. I'm ready. And I'd just like to introduce everyone to the Todd. Todd's going to kick it off tonight. So, round of applause for Todd.
And now, it's time for Throw the Todd under the bus.
Oh, that was well played.
All right, he's gone.
Good evening, everybody. This is Aussie Craft Distillers shooting the shit. We're here with Keri from Cabarita Spirits up in Queensland. Am I right?
No, Northern New South.
Oh, Jesus, I got it wrong.
No, you got that wrong.
Northern New South Wales, so close. You're close to the border, though, aren't you? You're very close to the border.
Yeah, close. 25 minutes from Coolangatta, which is where the border is. Yeah.
Actually, on Cabarita Beach.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is, I'm going to assume that's where the name came from.
We'll get into that shortly. So, anyway, everyone, we're back. This is episode 50.
50.
50?
50.
50. Episode 50. Yeah. So tonight, it's different. We're going to be talking about rum, which is going to be fun. Oh, that's clever. That was clever.
Practicing.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I got tonight. So it's all downhill from here. But anyway, the first thing we do first is we've introduced Keri.
Hi, Keri.
Hey, Keri. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much.
Good, excellent. And then on our right-hand side, we've got the man of heavy conversation and attitude, my right-hand man, the Todd. How are you, Todd?
Very good, thank you. Long-suffering as always.
Oh, very good. On my left-hand side, my good friend,
Hello.
Luke. And I'm at Luke's joint, in case anyone wondering where I am. I'm not in the shed distilling. That's tomorrow. Brewing into distilling.
Well, given that the last 5 episodes have been here, I think people are probably expecting it now.
Well, I was actually meant to be there tonight, but that's...
I've forgotten what the shed looks like.
No, we started distilling last week. Anyway, from Craftworks Distillery, for those that don't know. So let's kick it off. First thing we always do is we need a drink. We all need a drink. So we'll start with you, Keri, because you're more organised than we are. What are you drinking right now?
Yeah, I am drinking. I'm drinking a Hemingway daiquiri, which I'm already quite a way through because, like I mentioned, I just realised half an hour ago that this is a live show, and that makes me a little bit nervous. And I'm actually drinking, and so I was very nervous, so I got a Navy strength rum. Cane Spirit, to be clear, from Jimmy Rum in Victoria, and it's at 57.8%.
Oh, nice.
That's a good way to get started.
Yeah, it's either going to chill me out or knock me out.
Don't worry about being nervous. It is a loose as a goose ride. We go in whatever direction it goes, and it is what it is. And
if we all happen to pass out because we've had too many drinks, then so be it.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing is, as long as I'm driving at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm happy.
That's entirely your problem.
Yep, that's my problem. All right, so
I put money on the fact that he's not driving at 6 o'clock in the morning. Just saying.
Say again.
Bet you he's not driving at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, he knows me so well.
Yeah, it'll be 8 or 9 or 10.
Keri's drinking the most fancy drink we've ever had on the show.
I think so.
So also got dessert.
Dessert, nice.
Yeah.
So what is the Hemingway daiquiri?
A Hemingway daiquiri is made with grapefruit juice.
Right.
So your classic daiquiri has got your 30 mils of lime juice. The Hemingway's grapefruit. And it's what James from Jimmy Rum says, that when I asked him, we swapped a bottle of rum of our spirits at a festival, and I said, how would you drink it? And he said, I love it in a Hemingway daiquiri. So I said, right. Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
great. Yeah,
Cool.
it's delicious.
Yum.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we've got something very special tonight. Todd, unfortunately, you're going to miss out.
Yep.
We might save some, but anyway, one of our favorites.
Just remember what you're saying right now for future episodes.
Yeah, because you'll be here and I'll be at the shed. So one of our favorite distilleries, we talk a lot. We're good friends. Is our friends from King Lake Distillery.
Oh.
So down in Victoria, making some amazing whiskey that is their own signature flavor profile, which is very cool. Oh shit! Did I grab the? Oh no, they're right. These are your bottles.
They're mine.
So we put our orders in.
So you want to drink my bottles tonight?
You'll drink your bottle. No. But anyway, so we ordered bottles paid for. Okay, just like to say paid for, and got a lovely little sample from Chantel and Sam with a lovely little card that says, "See you later, alligator." That's the name of the whiskey. And it's a toasted ex-bourbon barrel with a big thanks and a smiley face.
And 61%.
61%. So we will be partaking in that a bit later on.
And I've also... So I've got Kalki Moon.
Nice.
Who we have spoken to before.
Yep.
You'll notice that I actually only just opened this today. I've had it for all this time. And I think it was just saving it for when I can appreciate it with someone who knows and can tell me about rum.
It's not me.
No, I wasn't
No, we
talking.
know it's not about it.
Even though we make rum, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So then I also got, like I put some effort in.
Fancy.
Lime and mint.
Fancy.
And I've got ginger beer.
Oof.
And I've got ice and stuff.
Where have you been? You've been on the education. I can tell.
I've got no fucking idea what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put it all
together. Salt for the glass.
So Keri will walk us through that.
Yeah, please do.
Todd, what are you drinking?
Lukey, you got some special salt too, haven't you?
I'll save that, yeah.
Well, all right, for later.
So yeah.
Backwards, single malt.
Yep.
Yep.
Backwards.
Road trip.
Is that their latest one, or is that?
Yeah, it's whatever they had. It's not their latest. It's what they had when we were doing our road trip.
Oh yeah, that was back in January. Yeah, right.
Focus. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right.
And then for dessert, I'm going on to whatever this is.
Thank God you stalled.
Unicorn Spirits.
Oh no.
Sour apple vodka. Thanks, Ben 10.
Ben 10's.
Ben's probably watching now.
Oh, and he's one of our sponsors. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, the Australian Gin Appreciation Society.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, we need to. Ben, pay your bill.
I've been working with Ben at the Easter show.
Yeah. We'll see what that's like.
Weekend.
But it's nice and glittery.
It's very glittery, and I can tell you when you've been pouring that for 10, 11 hours straight, your fingers are a bit sticky.
I got that just opening the lid, to be honest.
Times that by a lot, and yeah, you'll know where I'm coming from. I think half my
I can feel diabetes coming on.
Washing my hands.
All right, that's enough
Anyway,
crap.
That's enough.
So,
Crap.
Keri, let's start with your story. How you got into rum? What got you into rum? What excited you to get you into rum? And your journey to where you are right now. Give us a rundown on that.
Well, I didn't set out to be a distiller or to have a distillery or anything like that. For me, the process was just rum was an interest, and I wanted to make rum. I would consider myself more a rum maker than a distiller, even though they're one and the same. But just to be clear, because there are a lot of people that start, and that's because they want a distillery because that maybe they've come from a brewing background or they like a broad range of spirits. But for me, it was just making rum, and that came from it was a bit of a odd idea at a odd time, and then all the stars sort of aligned. But basically, rum had always been a bit of a fantasy spirit for me. I traveled a lot as a dive instructor in my early 20s and invariably in a lot of tropical islands. And there would always be beautiful rum bars on the beach in these tropical islands and these, great cocktails. And I always sort of associated rum with a really fun, enjoyable experience and time of my life.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in Spain as well. My dad's Spanish and I was actually born over there. And, one of their classic drinks is the Cuba Libre, a rum and coke, which is what people, often drink when you're out and about. And then, I just had these sort of like fantasy ideas of having a rum bar one day in the islands myself. Like, one day I want to, end up in a rum bar, my feet in sand, wooden bench, and just serve people rum, maybe have like a bucket with snorkeling gear and they can go for a snorkel, come back and have a pina colada. Your classic kind of, fantasy. But, life led me down a bit of a corporate life in the end. I became a journalist and then I worked in communications for different organizations. And I loved that work as well. But I really, having lived so much of my life outdoors, I really struggled sitting in the office and commuting. And so like many people in the craft distilling industry in Australia, I decided to ditch my career and started distillery. Well, for me, it was to make rum. Because I was thinking, well, how am I going to spend the next, 30 years of my life working? How am I going to get to my rum bar? How am I going to achieve this dream?
Right.
And the idea of sitting in I bored him already.
That's Todd. Don't worry about him.
I would say he's up in back.
What have I done?
Just the idea of
disrupting the flow of the conversation.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Keep going.
Sorry.
the idea of those long commutes and those office days was just so depressing. And, I was thinking about how am I going to do this rum bar, blah, blah, blah. And then I just thought, well, I can probably make rum because where I live in Cabarita in the Northern Rivers here, surrounded by sugarcane fields. And there was a sugar mill just down the road. And because I'd had a general interest in rum, I knew the basics of what rum was made from and how it was made. And I thought, well, I wonder if I can get some molasses from there and I can make rum. And so I just, Googled it and started figuring it out. And then before I knew it, I had all my licenses and everything, and it was time to buy a still. And
Cool.
so that's what I
You
did.
get your molasses from your local refinery.
Yeah, the sugar mill, the Condon sugar mill. Yeah, it's 20 minutes down the road. And I get molasses pretty much from the mill. It comes into, they put it into a truck, which feeds, it's blackstrap molasses, and then it comes to my place. And yeah, I've got a really tiny distillery. It's 21 square meters. I mean, what you can see in the picture is half of it, So I don't have like a full
Hey, someone got a distillery smaller than ours.
Yeah. Oh, you just frozen on me.
Than ours. So ours is 120 at the moment.
Okay.
And used to be worse.
We started at
Square meters?
60 square meters started, and that was including barrel storage space. So it was tight. We're now 120, and that's tight. But you're talking about expanding as well, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to. But at the moment, and I'm sure we'll get into it, it's, I make rum and cane spirits. Right. And selling cane spirits is actually a really tough sell. And in the meantime, like I've heard other people on the podcast say before, the spirit in barrels doesn't pay your overheads. Mm-hmm. And so I think, honestly, before I'm able to move out, it's going to be a little while before that happens.
Yep.
Yeah. And it makes things tricky. I mean, what I was saying, you just sort of all froze before, but you're back now. What I was saying is that I haven't got a forklift and things, and so I've got this IBC container, which my neighbour manufactured a big wheeled trolley for. So we put it on that, and then we roll it down the driveway, and the truck comes and fills it up with molasses, which now, once it's full, weighs 1.5 tons. And then I've got a friend who knows lots of people in town. I call him my HR manager. He rings up all his friends around town to see who's not working. Lots of people aren't working because this is a beachside surf town. And then everyone comes, help me push it up the driveway, put it into position. And that's how I get my molasses to my distillery. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Have you ever met Dave Pearce and Steve from 5-9's Distillery? They're a whiskey and gin distillery down in South Australia. Anyway, their distillery was very similar space-wise, like what you're talking about, but Steve was a cabinet maker. So he built everything. So it had multi-purposes and everything was on wheels. And you go there and you look at it and it's just incredible. There's no wasted space and everything just sort of clicks and clacks into space and works. And when they don't want it, they move it out and park cars.
Now, in case you're wondering, what is that noise?
That is
rain.
Yeah.
It's not raining over here in the tropical.
It's the rain.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
We've got...
Yeah, I can hear it.
In my shed, it is... I've got low ceilings, and it is heavy, heavy rain. So, sorry about the audio quality from our end.
It's not too bad, really. It's sort of just a nice subtle background noise.
Still good.
If we raise our voices, it's not because we're angry. Nah. All right. So, okay, that's an interesting journey because you're coming at it from a completely different standpoint. I've never heard that sort of perspective of getting into the industry, and everyone has come in through different ways. But I love how you're saying it's come from an association with great times when you were a dive instructor. That's really cool.
Yeah. You know, actually, one of my earliest memories of rum, the first time I ever had a rum, was when I was about 8 or 9 years old. This is going to make my parents really irresponsible, but they're not, I swear. But we were on holiday in the Dominican Republic. I was about 8 or 9 years old. My parents were actually divorced by this stage, and my dad was living in Spain still, and mum was in New Zealand. But they'd meet up so I could share a holiday with them together every year. So we're in the Dominican Republic, and we're on this flat bottom boat out on the lagoon with the reef around. And this big storm cell comes out towards us, and all the tourists on the boat start worrying that, you know, we're going to get turned over in the storm or whatever. And so the crew on this little dinky boat just bring out all these rum and cokes and start giving everyone a rum and coke. And they put on the merengue music. And then everyone just starts dancing and they're drinking rum and coke and they're having the time of their life. The storm comes, it's pouring with rain. Everyone's having a ball. You know, no one freaks out, no one panics, no one stresses or complains. Everyone has a really good time. And my parents gave me a sip of their rum and coke, you know, and I'll never forget it. It was just, I just thought, wow, look at that. And my parents never forgot it. I realized how crafty the crew were being and getting everybody just a little bit tipsy so they would just stress less and have a good time. And they always talk about that. And so I guess like my perception of rum is really, really different from what the general person's perception of rum in Australia might be. And it's got a really storied and disreputable reputation in Australia. And I meet that a lot in my business, and it's actually really, really challenging. And I would, you know, I'm always saying when people say, oh, but it makes me aggressive. I'm like, oh, I don't think it's the rum that's making you aggressive, you know.
It's probably having a dozen rum and cokes that has done it for you rather than the rum itself.
Yeah, exactly. I have a dirty secret, and my dirty secret is when I distill. So we're at the back of a pub, and sometimes when I finish, I'll go into the pub and I'll sit there and have a Bundy and Coke in a can. And
that is a dirty secret.
It is a dirty secret. Yeah. And the
remember that time we were actually running the still and having a secret rum and coke.
Rum and coke, yeah.
When that guy turned up to the cellar door and gave us a hard time for drinking a completely different spirit from what we're making.
Yeah. Oh. But it's the association, right? So for me, I've had good times with Bundy, and I know Bundy has a lot to answer for, with a lot of people having bad experiences in Australia, all right, for various reasons. But it's the association. And I'll sit in the pub and I'll drink, and it's in a can, right? They go, "Do you want it in a glass? Do you want it out of the bottle?" I go, no, I want it in the can. It's very ritualistic. And when I do it, I just relax. It's so cool. It's really cool. And I don't drink I don't drink Bundy and Coke at home. I don't drink it anywhere else. I only drink it after distilling, and it's not all the time. It's just occasionally. So the whole association thing, I totally get where you're coming from with that.
Also,
the thing is,
the notion of retiring with a little rum bar on a beach in the Caribbean or somewhere.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, that sounds pretty fucking good at the best of times.
Even a rum bar in Australia.
Yeah, I actually, people, when I came up, I started thinking about the idea, and I was working in an office at the time, and I mentioned it to a few people, and one guy said to me, he's just like, "Well, why don't you just sell up and go and do the rum bar?"
Yeah.
That was the obvious thing to do, and he was right. I could have done that, but I wasn't. I'm not ready. I mean, I'm 42 years old. I don't want to retire. I can't retire, obviously, and I don't want to. I like working, and I like and that's what I like about what I'm doing now. Probably the same as you guys. I like producing something. I like having the sense of satisfaction and achievement. I've got a real sense of purpose now. Well, a desperate sense of purpose that I didn't have before. But it's good, it's hard, but it's good.
Yeah, passion and purpose. It's something. It became a personal philosophy of mine in my late teenage years, and it's only later in life that I've actually been able to apply it at a very personal sense and gone, I'm doing something that I love for the reasons that I love it. And you're exactly the same. And there's so many Australian small mum and dad operation craft distillers that are exactly the same. It's given them their passion, but a purpose as well.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that, because I felt like a bit of and I still do sometimes, like a bit of a cop out. Not a cop out. What's the word? Like a fraud, because I didn't grow up wanting to be a rum distiller or a rum maker or anything. It's not like people say, "Oh, but you're living your dream." I'm like, am I? Because I never dreamed about doing this. It's just an idea that occurred to me a few years ago, and I just went ahead with it. Now I'm just realizing that passion is actually something that is also produced and that you cultivate in your life.
Yeah.
I'm dead passionate about what I do now, but it's not like I dreamed it all my life and finally threw in the towel at work and decided to follow that dream. Yeah, in the long sense, rum bar in the islands maybe, but not starting a distillery in my garage. I didn't dream of that when I was a little girl. Now it's all I think about. It's sort of become obsessed with what you do, and which is cool. That's where passion.
So how does that obsession manifest on a day-to-day basis? I know for myself, when I do become obsessive about whatever it is that I'm doing at this moment, I'll have an idea and then I'll go, "Oh, I reckon I can make that thing there or that process better. I can make that more efficient. I can do something with it," and it keeps me up at night. What are the things that you've found that keep you up at night, that you're trying to work out and evolve an idea?
Besides how to make money.
Besides that.
We've
all had those 3 a.m. things where we go, I can fucking do it that way.
Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot, obviously. Like one thing that's been something that, well, firstly, I'm a real fan of education and information. So whether that's through trial and error or talking with people or reading books or manuals or blogs or whatever it is. So generally, if I'm trying to figure something out, I read everything I can get my hands on about it, which is really tough with distilling, because there's a bunch of opposing opinions always. It's a really small industry. People do things in different ways. People are incredibly opinionated. So you need to find what makes sense to you, what resonates with you and the gear that you're using. There's something for me that's been on my mind recently, as I'm really resolving sort of by now, but anyway, it's how to safely clean my still. because I've got a copper pot still, as you can see here, and I use molasses, which is a real bitch to clean your still. You get the scaling happening. I don't have like fancy balls that spin around in here and clean it off or anything, you know. I've got a pressure. I've got, like tap pressure hose, which is pretty good pressure, and then also like a gurney. I don't know, they've got names in places, a gurney.
Yep.
And then there's like ad sip, or there's caustic, and I just, I'm trying to preserve the copper in my still. I'm trying not to put waste down the drain, and I'm trying not to get scale build up in my still. And it's an impossible situation. So
you got elements inside, or is it direct? Yeah, it's a bitch, isn't it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't think there's an easy solution when you're dealing with something like molasses, where you get that build up of scale. It's just
it's worse, molasses.
Yeah.
And also, like for the show, I put the parrot back on because it looked really weird without it. But I had taken
actually.
Well, I'd taken the parrot off earlier because of all the copper sulfate and the copper salts that start sort of building up, and they really start collecting in the parrot at the end of the condenser. So I take this off really regularly and give it a good clean. And I'd taken it off, and it's hydrophobic, so just hot water doesn't do the trick. The heads in the next run will clear it, but then by the end of the run, it's sort of filled up with that, with gunk again. So anyway, so I had it taken off, and I had it sitting on the bench for the last 3 days, just wondering how I might clean it out. I've got like a cool little brush thing that I can put in there now with a bit of like dishwashing liquid and just to scrape it out and stuff. But so that's one of the things that's on my mind. Flocculation forming in my bottles.
Yep.
After bottling, that's something that's a real pain in the ass that I'm always trying to combat. So I get it. You can leave it in and proof it down to your bottling strength. You leave it in the container for a while. Let the flock settle out, and then you can siphon it out. That's fine if you've got a forklift or something to lift that vessel to be able to siphon it out into a gravity siphon it out. But I haven't got that, so I filter it out during bottling. But then sometimes it still forms in the bottle afterwards. Anyway, so things like that. Or if I haven't given it enough time resting in the stainless steel, let the flock fall out, and then I bottle it. I rebottled 240 bottles the other day. That was my Easter. Things like that, and just figuring out like why in this batch did I get more flock than in other batches. And looking back through all my distillation notes, my fermentation notes, and then just trying to find a pattern, so I can work out how not to repeat the same mistake. Basically, I'm 2 and a bit years in, and I'm still figuring things out. Yeah.
And how do you find? I mean, the obviously the whiskey community is quite big and crafty. You've got a few dozen people that you can call at the drop of a hat.
Hundreds
to resolve or to bounce ideas off. What is the rum community,
good question,
the rum distilling community like? Because to my understanding, it is still quite small.
Yeah, it is pretty small. It's so cool. I know like a handful of them, but they're such a great bunch of people. Like around where I am, we've got Huss distillers, and they would, Quentin, the head distiller there, welcome me with open arms, show me right through the distillery, right at the very beginning of my journey.
Yep.
But they're very busy people, and I don't want to call on them too much. But then I've got Mark from Winding Road, Brian at Lord Byron, and like I mentioned, James from Jimmy Rum, and they're all excellent. I've called them all on different occasions and asked them different things. It's really great to get together at a rum festival, for example, and then catch up for a beer afterwards. I just feel like they're my colleagues, part of my family, because I work in isolation like many of us do. I work in isolation, and so when I do get opportunity to talk about distilling like with you guys today, all these guys at a rum festival, I love it. I hang on to it because I've got so much that I want to share and so much that I need to learn from other people that it's a really cool opportunity. So they're great, but I'm reluctant to call them at every problem that I have because I have a lot of problems, and they're busy people and they've got their own businesses to run, and I don't want to tax their time. I don't want to disrespect that. and also like a lot of the problems are commercial incompetence as well. Like I don't want to admit like a huge fuck up to my to another rum distiller down the road. I mean, you got to think I'm a real idiot. I do that every week,
That's right. Crafty is on the podcast. So.
I hear them on the podcast. I take I put a lot of credence personally in mentors, right? But to me, mentors are not a one-way relationship. They're you get things from your mentors, but you give things to your mentors. So I'll give you a good example. He's one of my best mates, Marty Pye from Riverbourne Distillery. We fight like cat and dog. We know our tolerance is 2 days together. Todd can probably squeeze out 3 days, but I can only squeeze out 2 days. Now, I help Marty.
So when we were at the Distillers Conference and we're in the same room for about 3 days, we were pushing it.
Yeah, it was pushing it. But I help Marty with concepts and social media and just trying to get out there and pull him out of his isolation, because he's stuck in the farm in the middle of nowhere, and he's 77 years old. But he has taught me so much and still teaches me much. And with your mentor relationships, you've got such a high degree of transparency that even your mentors can learn from you, which I think is super, super cool. But beyond the mentor relationship, there is the community relationship. And I put a lot of credence on that, to be able to pick up the phone or a text or a message or whatever, and just bounce an idea or a problem or an opportunity. I love that. That's one thing I love about the community. It is also one of my biggest fears, that as the community grows, the elbows start to come out. And a lot of us distillers talk about this, is this people come into the industry and they've almost got a sense of arrogance, that they'll come and talk to you and they go, I want to open a distillery, and they'll pump you for information, and you go, but who are you? I did the same, but I did it over years. And other distillers, it's through friendship, it's through connections, it's through opportunities, and you build your knowledge. You can't just walk in and expect someone to hand over, oh, this is how I do everything. Now go away. I don't even know who you are. But there is a sense of entitlement. Do you find that? Do you get people do that to you?
Yeah. But I think that I was one of those people. Well, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I think I didn't knock on every distillery door around me. The one I did though was I just saw that message come up. The one I did go out to Husk and talk to Quentin, and I brought with me a notepad and a pen, and I said, do you mind if I take notes? And when I saw something interesting, like I saw they had an Enelmatic bottle filler, and I was like, can I take a photo of that? And so I feel like I was that person, and I felt really cheeky, to be honest, at the time. But they were also at a stage of their distillery and their business, but they're just so well established and really evolved that I'm pretty sure he was just like, man, this chick, man, she's got no idea. And after that, I just did my own research. Yes, I've had people come to me and ask me questions, and I did a distillery course recently in Tasmania with people who were just sort of starting out at a very nascent stage of their journey, right? And they had heaps of questions, and I was really, really happy to give them all the information that they asked. I was really happy to. But then I've also had a situation when I've had people that wanted to come and have a look. These people were just 10 minutes down the road from me, also wanted to make rum and wanted to do it how I've done it, starting off small, and they wanted to have a look at my setup. And I said, no. I said, I'm happy to go have a drink with you at the bar and, answer your questions, but I'm not going to give you the blueprint for how to do what I've done 10 minutes down the road from me.
No, it's a delicate balance. And what you've said, what you did, to me, that's exactly what I did, right? Exactly. But you come in with enthusiasm and a genuine sense of curiosity, right? And for me, it was Bill McHenry from McHenry Distillery and Sons back there. And he knew, and I just met him at a market, and got talking to him, got to know him. And then one day, and this is when I started as independent bottling, before I started, and I was in Hobart, and I said, mate, is there any way I could just come over and have a bit of a chat? And he goes, absolutely. This was before Crafty, right? And I went there, and Bill was amazing. He showed me what he did, and he said, I'm going to tell you all the things that I did wrong so you don't do them, right? And this is some ideas to put you on your road, on your journey. And he did. And that was fantastic. It was not, I wasn't going there with the sole intent of trying to pump and get all this good information and go off and be a competitor. For me, it was start of a journey and just collecting information. And you're the same, I can tell. It's collecting the information and then forming your own position, taking what works for you and going, right, the more people you speak to, the more confusing it gets. The more
at that early stage, you don't know what the right questions are to ask, and
you don't know what you don't know. Yeah.
And you don't know what you're looking for either. Like there was something that I needed to work out, and honestly, like at that point, that was probably the first and only distillery at the time that I'd ever visited and had a look at. You know, and their scale is mega compared to what I was thinking of. But at least I got an idea of what a pot still looks like. You know, and fermentation, and also like Quentin was really cool. He showed me like the 6x3 meter shed that they started in, a few years ago.
Right. And
he's like, I'd say, like, I'm thinking about getting a 200 litre still. Do you think that's going to be big enough for rum? And he's like, yeah, we started with something really small in the shed. And, we only just really built this gorgeous distillery that they have at Timbalgam. And so, it was really cool. But at the time, like, I picked up a couple of cool bits of information, like the enolmatic, and I saw the still, but I wasn't thinking about, like, a million things that tripped me up down the track that it never would have occurred to me to ask questions about it until suddenly I had all this equipment and I didn't know how to attach the different hoses and pipes and plumbing equipment. I'm like, oh shit, right? I need some plumbing advice now.
And what about, so with the actual process of distilling rum, can you? Because I don't know how you work with molasses. I know how you brew a beer, make a wash, and put that through a still. Can you talk us through, or me through, the process of making rum?
Look, I think compared to whiskey, it's really easy. Compared to whiskey,
it's hard.
Whiskey.
It's definitely hard the way we do it.
Yeah. Carry on, Keri.
All that mashing you've got to do, that's one step that you miss with molasses and sugarcane based spirits, right? So with molasses, I just get pretty much like 3/4 molasses to 1/4 sugar at the moment is my recipe for my Blanco cane spirit. Mix it in with lots of water, and I just I've got 200 litre barrels for that. So I just stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. And I spend pretty much half a day stirring it in. Right. No, exaggerating. Someone said that I get a big paddle thing connected to an electric drill and do it that way, which is a very clever idea. Which I haven't done yet. But anyway, stir it in, and then I have my yeast starter. I use a commercial rum yeast. So I produce it functions really well in high temperatures. Subtropical climate here. And some of the tap water is coming out at 28 degrees.
Right.
And I actually, to mix in the molasses, I use even hotter water to mix in the molasses nice and easy first. And then, pitch the yeast in, and then it's the fermentation, which is a beast into itself. So that's my process for making a clean base spirit, which is my Blanco cane spirit. Really, it's quite straightforward. Previously, I was using more molasses and less or no sugar, and the molasses imparts so much flavor into the spirit that the spirit was just too full flavored for the local market and too full flavored really for an unaged product. And I mean, I was taking like 3 days to do a spirit run in an attempt to strip back some of that flavor through that reflux happening in the still.
Yeah, right.
And it, only recently through talking to a vodka maker and just down the road from me in New South Wales, that it occurred to both of us in a conversation on the phone that I use less molasses, which is where the flavour is coming from. Potentially there'll be less flavour carried over in the still. So now I use a little less molasses. So that fermentation, like originally it was lasting like 4, 5, 6 days. And then I'm finding that with less molasses and more sugar, the fermentation time period increases.
Sorry, for a sec. So
with less molasses, more sugar.
More sugar, the fermentation is longer.
Yeah, that's what it's pretty weird. I mean, it could be I'm pitching it a slightly lower temperature perhaps as well, but that's about the only variable.
Right.
And yeah, it's really interesting. I can hear some bubbles.
What I would have thought.
Sorry, what was that?
That's certainly counter to what I would have thought would happen. I'd have thought
would have been quicker. Yeah, because
much faster.
The sugar is easier to work with for the yeast. It's
It's
there on the table, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what
to ferment.
So again, Todd?
Adding sugar, you potentially have more sugar to ferment than if you're using straight molasses.
Maybe no, because the starting gravity is the same as it was before, thereabouts. Just take molasses. And that's the only I can't figure out what else it could be. For example, like
aeration. When you're mixing in your sugar,
so the oxygen content.
Does that does that make a difference if you're mixing and diluting your molasses at a higher temperature? Are you getting more oxygen into that molasses to feed the yeast as well, versus when you're using less and more sugar?
Wow, that's the most technical question you asked on shooting the shit. That's round of applause for Lucy there.
My brain hurts. I need to have a sleep.
That's actually a really good point, and it might be. I don't know. The only reason I think I hadn't considered it, and the reason I am considering it is that this last fermentation that I've got going on at the moment, which is still bubbling, I can hear it. And I'm going on past 2 weeks now, so this is really long. And that fermentation, for some reason I can't remember why, but because a lot of the sugar got stuck, and I was just stirring it for ages longer. But if it was really oxygenated, you'd think.
There we go.
So hang on. Less oxygen incorporated at the early stage will give a longer lag phase. Yep. So all that mixing of molasses will be oxygenating the must nicely.
So more oxygen, less lag.
No, give a longer lag.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting really technical here, people. So we might take this off as a side conversation. Otherwise, we'll never get through.
No, I want to know the answer, damn it.
To answer your question earlier, these are the things that keep me awake at 3 a.m.
I know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's a matter of, okay, how do I make something that I can use, such as your massive paddle on your drill, to get that aeration to, I mean, you probably got some guns now from all the stirring. I mean, you don't want to lose that, but
use oxygen stones. That's another way. Stones. Use oxygen stones, like they do in the brewing industry, where they actually, it's like your fish tank. How you have your bubbling in your fish tank. You can actually use that in you can use it in whiskey. I would imagine you'd be able to use it in gin, in rum as well.
So when would you use that? Are you using that
at the ferment?
Throughout the ferment? Or to begin the ferment.
To begin the ferment, I would say. Yeah.
It's the yeast that likes the oxygenation.
Yeah.
So you do it before you pitch the yeast to get more productivity out of the yeast. Yeah,
So
paint
Williams, that's what we do as well. So we get the old paint stir on the drill.
Or an oxygen one. Yeah. Hey, this is good. We got lots. Yeah. Or just fist it for 24 hours. Take your frustration out on 24 hours. I love it. I want to change direction now.
Range back.
Yeah, and I'll speak loudly. So have just got on the technical standards committee for the ADA. Now there's 20-something plus of us, so it's one hell of a size committee. And whether we get anything done or not, time will tell. But the main reason,
not much.
The main reason that I got on it is because personally, I'm becoming increasingly more concerned of people coming into the industry, and I'm talking purely from whiskey standpoint now. The rules on whiskey are do your 2 years in wood, keep your nose clean, and then you can be as creative and innovative as you want, right? And I believe we are creative and innovative, but we stick to the 2 years rule. What is coming into the industry are people that are promoting their product as single malt, right? Which by definition is single malt whiskey. So the man on the street, if you do a test, what's a single malt? If I drink whiskey, it's a single malt whiskey. If you go onto Google, you type single malt, it comes up as single malt whiskey. So it's a practice which potentially, whether it's intentional or not, is misleading the consumer. And people go, Crafty, shut the fuck up. Why are you concerned about it? Just worry about your own business. And the reason I worry about it is because I am Whiskey Brand Australia. So if anyone's doing anything out there which is damaging Whiskey Brand Australia, you're potentially damaging my brand. So if someone has a bad experience by tasting some new make, which has been in a barrel for a month, and flogging it as single malt, and the person's perceived as whiskey, that's not good for Whiskey Brand Australia. Now put that to one side, and you rum guys, whoo, you've got some real challenges with white rum, haven't you? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Keri, you've got on one side of the debate is we don't want any age classification around white rum, right? We want to be able to just distill a product and release it and call it white rum. On the other side of the debate is no, we want the 2 year protection, and then we can call it white rum. It's aged, and we can call it white rum. And there's arguments for both sides, right? But if I take the whole whiskey debate and apply it to the rum debate, are you not potentially going to go down the line, if you don't have a 2 year minimum, that you're going to get people coming in and releasing product that the consumer's going to think is rum and it's not, and then it's just going to backfire on rum brand Australia?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really contentious topic, and I think more for rum than it is for whiskey, because internationally an unaged or an underaged rum is still rum. So here it's sort of like a definition kind of issue. In Australia, I'm producing cane spirits at the moment, and I've got product in barrels to release rums when they're ready, and it'll probably be beyond the 2 year mark. And I really see both sides of the argument. Like, I understand the value of protecting a category, be it whiskey or rum, in an industry, especially in a nascent distillery, craft distilling industry like we have in Australia. Absolutely. You want to keep premiumization. We're producing these products by hand. An awful amount of time and effort and passion and sleepless nights goes into it. And so you want that end product to be actually really delicious.
Then you can get any more out of that bottle?
No. Sorry, I had to show you because this is my last bottle of Ferno. Tom and Co. down in Flinders Island making absolutely sensational bloody whiskey. And we were meant to get one or two at the Australian Whiskey Awards, and with all the rushing around, we didn't. So, Tom, we need amazing whiskey. Sorry, I digress. That's why I was squeezing it out of the bottle. It's the last of it. Cheers.
Sorry, Keri, for taking away your thunder.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, no, you're providing a really good insight into it, Keri. So I'd love to hear more about this.
Well, look, I sort of sit in the middle. I see the value of both sides. Basically, I see the value of keeping a premiumization in the category, releasing really quality products. I believe that you can release a quality underaged or unaged rum.
Yep.
I think more care and consideration needs to go into that product. For example, a rum agricole, the French style, as you know, most of those rums are designed to be drank unaged.
Yep.
Like just, I'm using molasses and I'm using a pot still, not even a column still, which is not ideal for producing an underage or an unaged cane spirit, which is why my spirit run takes, so bloody long. And why I'm working a lot with my fermentation to make it, not too bold and not too flavorful, so that it is more like an underage or a white rum. Right. So I think, between whiskey and rum, horses for courses, really. I think whiskey is a completely different category, and not in the sense that rum is lawless and there are rules with whiskey. I don't think that's the case at all. No. But I guess, at the end of the day, transparency is really important. Writing on the label what you've got, like how long has your product been in the barrel for? Has it been in there for 6 months? Has it been a year? Has it been 2 years or more? Has it been 5 years? And at the end of the day, it's the spirit is what sells and what talks. I had the real privilege of being in Tasmania the week before last, and I did this distillery course. I think I might have mentioned it before. And I tried, half a dozen extraordinary whiskies, and I just thought, just need to get some more barrels, I just need to get some more barrels. The stuff is amazing. I want that. I want my product to taste like that. And the consumer at the end of the day, has got that the last card, or what would you say? The spirit that the best spirits sell. I know marketing is really important and branding and all that sort of stuff. But when I looked at
shit out of a poor spirit and sell a lot of it.
Well, look at Captain Morgan's and Sailor Jerry, obviously, But those Tasmanian whiskies, they're selling for $300 a bottle. Yeah. And they can't keep up with demand.
Oh yeah. Some of them, you go into a ballot, if you're lucky, you'll get it, and then you pay a fortune. So I need to ask another technical question.
Yeah, right. You were very technical tonight.
I know.
Have you been doing homework?
No. That's why I'm asking questions. So there we go. That is I know you can't see it because I want to look at the spirit itself through the bottle, which has a very slight amount of colour.
I know where you're going.
Compared
to
to that, which has no colour.
Yeah. You know why?
Well, because that's been barrel aged.
And it's a white rum.
So
carry on.
So
that's Rata, is it?
Barty.
Who's Barty?
As Fiji.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fiji. So my question there is, if that's been in the barrel for 2 years and it's got that little colour compared to that's been in the barrel for 2 years and has all the colour, what am I missing?
Possibly blank barrel.
No.
What am I missing?
No, it's very. Keri's going to explain it. It's pretty.
It's just filtered through a charcoal filter, which strips it of all the colour, and some of the flavour as well. So some of the flavour, but it's still a mature spirit. It's still really different, and you can still tell. I think that it's been barrel aged. There's so much that happens in the barrel with the changing of the chemistry, the push and pull between the wood and the spirit, the esterification that still happens in the barrel. That spirit is really changing. You can strip the colour out of it, and you can strip a lot of some of those flavours out of it, especially with rums. There's so much flavour in rum. You can strip that out, and you're still going to have a different that what came out off the still compared to what's been in the barrel and stripped of color is going to be two different products still. So there's still value in putting something in a barrel and then stripping it of color and some flavor and bottling it as a white rum. It's just that I think we're so focused in Australia on this whole barrel aging thing that it's just like, wow, why are you going to go to the effort of all that barrel aging to get all that lovely color, then just
strip it out?
Strip it out.
Yeah. That's what I struggle with. But what I will say with white rum, aged white rum, the ones that I've tasted, the mouthfeel, the textural qualities of the rum are very different to say an Edricole or something like that. I'm
just trying to see what the ABV is. Oh, that's
the viscosity is different.
This is a liqueur though, so it's not a good example.
You just buggered your own argument.
They've just watered it down. But
I'm glad you didn't give it to me, because I would have banged on about texture and then looked like a right idiot.
I should have done that.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah.
You're right.
I realised
it is that mouthfeel and it is that texture that changes, and that's what you get. Yeah,
it's very, very noticeable. Now let's talk about your still. So, does it have a name? What size is it, and where'd you get it?
I got it made in Western Australia at Triple H Distill with Hilton. Is it
Hilton? Yeah. Heard of him?
Yep. I was number 36, so that was his 36 still. Right. And I didn't get a formal education in distilling. I would call Hilton and be like, hey, Hilton, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And the poor guy just wanted to make a sale, so he spent 2 hours on the phone with me, teach me how to distill. And I went over there and met him and saw the workshop and just wanted to make sure it was going to fit in my space, and it did. And so that's my still. It's called Felix because that's my grandfather's name in Spain. And that grandfather was a chemist in a sugar factory.
Wow.
Just by chance. I don't know, it's good for the story. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a coincidence, really. And it's 230 litres.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm not sure. It's got you can see what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's got a boil ball on it, and it's quite a long neck on it for its size, isn't it?
Well, that's what people say. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
You can use it to make a lighter spirit.
Well, that's what you'd hope, but I don't think so. Because I've been hoping for this lighter spirit for Blanco, but I don't think so. Yeah. Or it's just the molasses that I'm using is just chunky, flavorful. Chunky flavor,
yeah.
Yeah.
What so have you done anything in barrels? Have you got anything maturing in barrels? And what have you been looking at with barrels? Oh, hang on, I see
on batch 2.
Tassie, is it Tassie Cask Company barrels?
No. Cabarita Spirits, so from AP John Cooperage down in South
John. Yep.
So ex-bourbon barrels. Yeah, cut down to 115 litres, and then one charred, and I left one as it was just to compare the difference. I've actually released it's anywhere between 6 months and a year in the barrel. I call it Oro, and I just really wanted to get a different product out there. I've got pretty much an empty bottle here, but there's a little bit of you can see a little bit of golden colour in there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Lovely.
And then the other barrel, just sort of holding for a rum might be 2 or 3 years, and I'm just having a little taste of that tonight.
Yeah, it's a nice colour.
It is.
What are its legs like?
Hey,
show us the legs.
Oh,
give us a 12.
But barrels is like tattoos, right? You get one, you're just like, oh, I want another one. I want another one. I want a big one. I want a small one. I want 20
I want you to burn it hard. No, I want it really light.
Yeah.
So, do you have a unicorn barrel? Is there something that just you have to have it, but it's going to be really hard to find?
Oh, yeah. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've got a different kind of unicorn barrel, which I'm just putting whatever happens in it. We'll see what happens in 5 years. Probably a Spanish Jerez sherry barrel, like an Oloroso or a Fino.
Yep.
And I'm actually going to try and visit my dad later this year. I haven't seen him for 5 years because of COVID and all of that. And I thought it could be a good opportunity to try and suss out a couple of barrels and see if I can send them to Australia, because man, barrels are they're really expensive. Not just the barrel, it's just that I've got this tiny setup and I get 2 barrels shipped up from South Australia, and the cost of shipping is the cost of the barrels. And I'm a Kiwi, I just can't stand that kind of inefficiency. I'm like, well, I've got to make it worthwhile.
Are you a Kiwi?
Yeah, you are. I picked it. I picked it a while ago. You are, aren't you?
Oh,
I thought you were joking.
No, that's funny. That's really funny. It's funny because
3 of these things are just like the other. 3 of these things are kind of the same. One of these things is totally different. Guess which one that is?
Yeah. So we're in Australia, and we're showing Australians how to make spirits.
Yeah, I picked. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you would. Yeah. Look, that's Joadja Distillery. So
No.
Joadja, Val and Elisa, the surname I can't remember. They're Spanish. Jimenez. They're Spanish, and their signature is old wood sherry casks, which they bring in from Spain, and it's their own personal connections with people they know in Spain, and they make a really rich, heavy fruit cake. Just amazing whiskey, Australian whiskey. You probably should have
get in looking for one now for you. For a couple
you should probably talk to them. I reckon.
I've got a Joe. I have got their. Oh no, I do. That's their gin.
Oh, that's their gin. Their Joadja. Hang on. Val and Elisa, the beautiful people.
I gave it to my dad.
So
I had their whiskey and I gave it to my dad.
But they got the Spanish connection.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it'd be worthwhile having a conversation with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just thought I might task my dad with the job and say, "Oh, Dad, see if you can find some barrels over there. Someone who's got a vineyard or a
that'll be my Christmas present. Thanks, Dad."
Yeah.
Because I reckon, even getting a couple of barrels and shipping them to Australia, you cut out all these middlemen along the way, right? The middleman in Spain, the middleman shipping, the middleman in Australia somewhere.
Oh, okay. So Paul is a mead maker. Paul is a good mate of mine and Todd's and Luke's, and makes a cracking mead. But Paul and I embarked on a project to distill honey. And
nice.
That was a project purely out of the love to try it, right? And we're barrel aging it as well. So what Paul is saying there is he's offering you a burnt honey mead barrel.
I'll take it. Thank you very much. Where are you, Paul?
We'll connect. Our people will talk to
our people will talk to your people.
Talk to your people, and we'll hook that up.
Cool. Well, I feel my get so I can pick it up.
Look, it'll be a few hour drive, but yeah.
We'll work something out. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's it. We will talk. There we are. We will talk.
That's it. The podcast works.
It is the voice of people in the industry.
Can we open that now?
Yeah, open it. So we're going to open the King Lake, Todd. Okay, so Keri, Todd is going to tell you. We're going to throw Todd under the bus.
We've already thrown him under
the bus. No, we're going to throw him under the bus. We're giving him plenty of warning. So he's ready.
You don't have to go through the spiel. Just tell me what I have to do.
No, throw him under the bus.
We've already thrown him under the bus. I'm boring.
Where's the button? Give me the button. Which button is this?
There are a lot of buttons.
I've got more buttons than you.
All right. So we're going to talk about rum, and we're going to talk about Craftworks experience and fuck ups. So hit the button. Where is it? That one?
You don't have to
don't
go
press
through that painful video again.
Hold on.
No, there you go. Lucas,
g'day, Lucas.
Luke.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. He's not going to shut up until I do.
Yep.
And now it's time for Throw the Todd under the bus.
Goodness
Well,
me.
it keeps them amused anyway.
Oh.
He's easily amused.
So,
Right.
what he's saying is that we've dabbled in rum, and there's certain things with working with my auspicious leader here that you need to think about. Sometimes he gets these brainwave ideas. So to make rum, we got 15-liter containers and put 250 15-liter containers into our mash tun.
Sunshine sugar.
It takes a bloody long time to empty out a little 15-liter container of molasses into a still, one at a time. What else do we do?
No. Say about how we've made it a couple of times.
The first time we went, I can see why people make rum. This seems to be really, really easy. Things seem to work quite nicely. So we decided to get confident to make a double brew. The second brew did not work as well as the first brew. And took us one hell of a long time to get it to ferment from memory.
Why, I wonder?
So it was just nightmarish. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. We couldn't get it cold. We feel that we were just using our normal yeast, so we feel that we're not
M1.
using the right yeast, just M1.
Yeah.
And
And we
we weren't feeding yeast or anything. It just was a bit nightmarish. But anyway, having said that, we've got rum, which has turned rum 2 days ago.
Yep.
And after 2 years in a barrel, it is a white rum, pretty much.
No, but say what the cask is, Todd. Say what the cask is.
It is Bentley rum cask. An old Bentley.
It's originally bourbon cask.
What
a
size?
200 litre.
200
So
litre.
originally it was a bourbon cask from, I think, Heaven Hill, but don't quote me on that. That then became a Bingley rum cask. So 200 litre. And then we bought it.
So Bingley.
And we bought two of them. And one we made whiskey. So that's going to turn
Bingley, no.
Bingley. No,
Bingley.
no,
No beans were involved in this.
Bingley rum. Anyway, it's very, very light, as Todd said. And it's, how would you describe the flavor profile, Todd?
Shit.
No, it's not shit.
No, it is actually, it's really, really nice. It's a very subtle rum.
It's light. It's light in flavor, very light in flavor.
Did you put spirit in the barrel or did you put water?
Yeah.
No,
The spirit, it is tasty. It's just like as what's the rum equivalent of new make?
Cane spirit.
Yeah, well, so whatever's when you've done your spirit run and you get your first runnings from that, we like tasting stuff, and we've decided we don't taste that because that was awful. But after 2 years in a barrel, it's actually quite tasty.
What?
Send your sample, Keri.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I don't understand why it's so light. What ABV did you put it in at?
That's a good question.
It would have still been 60, 62 or somewhere around there, whatever we normally put in.
And,
But it wasn't
What I think it is I think these barrels are actually blank barrels that, they were given away for a reason, and they've obviously done their thing. The reason why I say that is because we've also got a whiskey in the same barrel format, which is also a very light whiskey compared to our other whiskies.
Bloody nice whiskey.
In colour, very nice. Yeah, just in colour and flavour, it's still very flavoursome. It's just very, very. It's like straw.
But the question I wanted Todd to ask, he didn't ask it, is we didn't use any nutrients.
Well, that's what I was getting to, but you just cut in.
Now he says that's very clever.
You cut him off early.
That's very clever.
I was going to ask about nutrients earlier, but you decided to change topics and get on to you being on yet another committee, but we won't go there.
How do we give him the stick?
He's got the stick.
No.
That's
We've got a conversation stick.
Do you use nutrients in your ferments? Because that's one thing that we thought we had done wrong.
No, I've experimented with nutrients, and I don't find there's any value in using them. I'm not sure if that's because the molasses that I use was its blackstrap has got so much nutrient in it already. But I've experimented, and you want the nutrients to utilize the yeast really, to give the yeast more bang for buck basically. And it never did with the nutrients that I've tried, so I don't anymore. What I do use is a bit of citric acid to drop the pH at the start of the fermentation to around 4.5. Anyway, anyway, 4.2 and 4.7. I'm kind of happy. So I've worked out those ratios, so I do that, and that gives the yeast a better fighting chance. But nutrients, I didn't. All a nutrient's going to do is not going to affect the flavour. I don't think. I think it's going to just affect the alcohol that you get in the fermentation. The fermentation is where the flavour is created. That you create flavour in fermentation. The distilling, you're just separating those different flavours. You know, the shit head flavours or the poisonous head flavours or whatever to the shit tail flavours. You're just separating the different chemical compounds, but all the creation is in your fermentation. So I guess that nutrients might aid that, but they didn't in the case when I worked on it. Yeah.
Now I've left this comment up from Nathan Malcolm saying it sounds like you're missing magnesium.
He's a distiller.
Yeah. So Nathan asked, do you mean like in the sense of like a nutrition, like a
I think that's what he's referring to.
One of the nutrients.
Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think our thing is as Todd said, they're blank barrels. They've been used multiple times, and
that's what William was saying.
No more tannins to release. Yeah, absolutely agree. Will, absolutely agree.
But what you can, I need the sticks. What you can do is take that spirit and put it into a different barrel, like a really like heavily charred barrel or a new barrel for 6 months, and see what happens.
We actually really like it, but the style of rum that I would love to make is, I have a fascination with beer barrels. And so with the beer barrel, we're doing projects on the whiskey front. And I'd love to take beer barrels and make rum with beer barrels. Now, I've tasted Brix's stout cask rum, which I think is just absolutely awesome. Absolutely
making a good rum.
Yeah, just a real earthy. So our style of rum won't be, our barrel-aged rum won't be pineapple, banana, high ester content rum. I really want to make an earthy rum. I think that'll be our signature. We're going to start making more rum. A good friend of the show, Scotty Fitzsimmons, the ex-Oak Barrel in Sydney, now works for Ned Whiskey. He's banged on for many years about the rum naissance. And finally, the rum naissance is happening in Australia. There is so many good rums getting made in Australia. New distilleries coming out that are making cracking rums. And it's an exciting time to make rum, isn't it?
So, okay.
Well, see now, William's finishing my questions. I don't know. I
was going to ask that too.
Yeah, all right.
Hey, thanks, William. You managed to get them out of the question.
I was going to bring that up as well. So
bloody
that's
audience.
You don't even know about Rubbed Under.
I do so. We've actually done it. But anyway, Keri, go.
Cool question. I am now, just because the first couple of years I wasn't, because I just didn't have the confidence. And I just wanted to get some like basic clean stuff sorted and made and sold and whatever. And then it's like I was saying before about tattoos and barrels, you just want more. So I was like, right, well, I'll get this other barrel. Don't know where I'm going to put it. I'll figure that out later. Well, I'll fill that up with something and then I'll get another barrel. And so then I was like, right, well, these barrels, I want them to be really funky. I want them to be different. I'm comfortable now experimenting with longer fermentations, with wild yeasts, bigger, like digging into the tails more and tender. And so, yes, so I started collecting buckets of, dunder from the still and just leaving them to use in the next fermentation.
Yep.
For the second generation. And I did one round, and then I went back to the dunder and of these buckets that I had, and it was just so feral,
It's horrible, isn't it?
It was awful. It was awful. I thought, man, that can't be legal. It's really, really terrible. I Googled, well, what do you do if you see all this mold floating on the top of your bucket?
Oh, that's where the flavor is.
Yeah, well, so again, there's all these differing opinions, and I was just man, I just can't throw this mold into this fermentation. So I've chucked out some dunder. My garden really loves all this shit that it gets. And but I do have a couple of buckets. I'm saving some up for another barrel. I don't know where I'm going to put that. And oops, sorry, I got my cat has just come up.
It's all good.
And so I've got these 2 buckets, and I had a look the other day, and they're really well covered up, but there's just there's maybe these wormy things.
Extra protein.
Hey, they used to throw in goats' heads.
Yeah, that's used to be just
They're meant to be literally a pit that you throw everything into. And that just cultivates all sorts of awfulness that then creates more flavor.
Yeah.
Is that not the idea?
That's it. It's a turbocharged ferment. It's mold equals closed vessel, dunder with the appropriate infections, but will not have mold. Yeah, I know what he's saying.
The fact that you say infection, it just doesn't sound right.
A bacteria.
What's
Look,
appropriate?
there's bacteria and there's bad bacteria, but an infection.
I mean, if it doesn't stink, it's probably not such a bad one.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. If it doesn't stink, it's probably not that good because you want it, stinky.
Like a funky cheese.
No, that comment there is absolutely on the money, and that's my research as well.
Right.
So when you get if you get through the initial what is a dunder pit, right, and it sounds incredibly scary in that, and you get into some real deep technical stuff, they say that you've got to maintain, you've got to feed. You've got to feed a dunder pit. You've got to control its pH. You got to look after them. It's not just throwing goat's heads in and then happy days.
Right.
No.
Putting some dunder in the corner and forgetting about it for 6 months.
Then what do I do with all my goat's heads?
Don't know.
One thing that I've always sort of fall back on when I'm making rum, and I am wondering if I'm doing it right or wrong. Is it too hot? Is the fermentation going too long? Blah, blah, blah. I always think, 500 years ago in the Caribbean, far out. They didn't know what pH was,
sanitation.
They were appropriately inoculating dunder pits. It was pretty rough and ready. Sure, it might not have always been, premium kind of rum that we're aiming for now, but it was made most of the time. I'm hoping it was safe. And so I just think, rum is forgiving in that sense. And I think whiskey is as well, where you get these different flavor profiles, and then it's subjective. It's whether people like them or not, whether the majority or not like them, and whether it's funky or robust or light or whatever. There's room to play,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll tell you something which I discovered last week, and it absolutely blew my mind. Right, absolutely. I don't even know how I stumbled upon it, but whiskey tradition, Scottish whiskey is barley, yeast, barrel, and thyme. Right, water. Right? That's all it is.
No, don't you?
Don't steal my thunder. So what happened is, that's it. It's Scottish whiskey is just all about that, nothing else, right? And it's like, no, it's not, right? Anyway, I stumbled upon an article, and back in 1820s, there was a thing used called bud, which Todd mentioned. And bud, no one has any idea what bud is, but it's referenced in technical documents. No, there was none of that. Excise departments. Anyway, this one particular guy who teamed up with Dave Broom. Dave Broom is a whiskey writer, world-renowned, right? Highly established historian. And they were going, what the hell is this bud that they go on about back in the early 19th century and earlier? This guy was at Charlie McLean's house, who's a whiskey writer, a whiskey personality, a very knowledgeable man. And he showed this book and gave it to this guy who was friends with Dave Broom. And they opened it up and it explained what bud was. And this was an excise officer, right, who'd worked in distilleries. What bud was, how it was made, why it was made, everything. It was hops. And the hops were used to preserve the yeast because the yeast would go off.
The yeast.
Yeah. It worked as a preservative, and they're not 100% sure. It was actually a flavor thing as well. And I haven't gone through all the information on bud, but what it clearly shows is that Scottish whiskey had hops.
Oh. But how do the hops preserve the yeast? Like
That I don't understand. I haven't done all my research on it yet. I'll send you the.
I mean, it would give the yeast somewhere to live.
Well, yeast would go off after a while.
So
you're dealing with a liquid yeast, not a dried yeast. This is
okay.
freshly cultivated yeast. So it's basically what was used in previous batches and put to one side, and they'd mix it with hops.
Hold on, the brain. Phil Brain has.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Antimicrobial.
Antimicrobial.
So you can now go to a Scotsman, and when they bang on about tradition, and it's like, tradition is a moment in time, right?
Yeah, what is tradition?
What is tradition, right? And I'm personally, I'm a big advocate of. I think, yeah, that's it. He nailed it. That's what it is. If you go to the YouTube channel and look at that,
the liquid and how do you? I don't know. Okay, yeah.
And I've read articles about it. And when I read the articles, then I went to that. There's an hour and a half YouTube thing on it. And it blew my mind to think that hops were used in whiskey production. So then you go, what is tradition? Right? So to your point on making rum back in the day, they didn't know what pH was. They didn't know what cleanliness was.
Thanks, Paul. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! Sorry.
You put it on.
Autoplay. No. Auto. I was trying to find the URL so I can put it in because
put the URL. So and there's lots of golden nuggets like that out there. And it's exciting when you stumble upon stuff like that.
So for those playing along at home, I've just put the link to the YouTube channel into the chat. So scroll to the bottom. Eventually, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so if we're in a Renaissance.
Got to pronounce it right.
Renaissance.
No, Scotty, what is it? I think it's Renaissance.
Yeah, no, like okay. If we're in the Renaissance, do you think that we will be able to go back to the rum economy? which was founded on the rum economy.
A bit of barter.
We need Dave Withers on because he's a historian on that side. He knows all about that.
Yeah, well, there's pretty much a roof on my head at the moment. Short answer, no, I don't think so.
Okay, with Australia being founded on rum, what happened? Where did we go? Where did we move away from rum?
Rum on, Andrew Young.
Yeah, how what happened? Why did we lose the rum economy?
That's a question for Dave Withers.
Because they can't tax it particularly easily.
Probably. Oh man,
that's fucking awesome.
Sorry, we just
tasted the
King Lake. See you later, alligator. 60-something%. Oh man,
absolutely, Todd. No, sorry.
There's a little bit left, Todd.
Well, thank you.
I'll have to
As
get
I
on.
said, just remember this for episode 50 for future events.
I also just have to make mention, I'm now opening up a bottle of
Oh.
wine to grow.
Oh, well, I haven't tasted any Mark's stuff. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
you-
no, great.
Shit, yeah.
So I met him at the show, at the Easter show.
I know him well.
And we're going to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a lovely
Yeah,
couple.
absolutely. Look at that. Lovely. When you're ready.
Mark's
Yeah.
got a Burnsy still. And so Mark and I went to Burnsy
I can
at the
smell
same time to look at our stills getting built.
Oh, really?
Mm.
He's got
Yeah.
a beautiful stick.
Yeah. And he changed it. It was electric, like mine. It was 6 elements, 30 kilowatts. And he changed his to jacketed now, I think, isn't it?
it.
That's a major mod.
I think it was major project. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
he's
lovely.
Northern Rhythms. You're Northern
Yeah,
Rhythms.
it helps when you have your own fabrication company up the back.
Yeah, it does, true. And Dan Woolley, and Brian Restle. So
yeah. I don't.
who else is in the local area? Oh, and of course, Husk. So who else is in the local area?
Kate Byron Distillery.
Hey, Byron, of course. Yes. Yeah.
That's a
Are they
one.
doing rum?
No.
They're not.
Whiskey.
Yeah, just whiskey and gin and liqueurs and that. Yep.
Yeah.
And so, do you all talk? You're all a bit of a community up there in that area.
Yeah, very much. I don't chat too much with a lot of the bigger guys because my concerns and
Hey, Brad.
my topics of conversation aren't at that level. I'm much smaller, but I do chat with Mark quite a bit and
Yep.
Brian as well. They're both making rum, and they've
Yep.
just been really helpful. But Mark's great. Every once in a while, we'll just give each other a call and just chat for an hour.
Yeah.
And it's just really, again, working in isolation and working in an industry that's quite small. Yes, there's like hundreds of distilleries around Australia now, but they're spread around all of Australia. It's not as if you can go to the club at the end of the day and catch up with your workmates. You work on your own a lot of the time. So being able to chat with these people is just really, really, I consider them my colleagues. It's essential.
So
really.
so how do you deal with that isolation then?
Good question.
When you're working on your own for so long, how do you handle that? How do you stay sane?
Well, sometimes I don't. I'm an only child, and I'm actually really used to being alone and working independently and figuring things out. So actually soltera actually means, it translates from Spanish to bachelorette, for its notions of being free and unbound and independent. And that's why I chose that name, because I knew I'd be doing it on my own. And it's fine, The only thing that I find hard sometimes, the isolation can be hard, but then you just go out and do some sales work or whatever. I do find it hard not knowing if I'm doing something right or wrong, and just having to figure it out through the hard knocks. And so when I did this distillery course in Tasmania a couple of weeks ago, I realized that I actually had figured most of these things out, and it was really reassuring.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, okay, so we've all made the same mistakes. Flocculation is something, for example, that happens to everybody, not just me. I've got most of my friends are on furniture dollies, and I thought that was like really get on village. Everyone's got things on furniture dollies, I'm like, cool.
Whatever the hell works, really.
Did you do Anne Gigney's course?
No.
Nope.
Oh, I wasn't. No, I didn't do any courses, but I won a scholarship last year to the 2-day sort of introductory course.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
did that. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
So how did that? What was that scholarship through?
So that was through the Pink Boot Society, which is for women in the beer and brewing industry, actually.
Right.
They had this distillery scholarship, this 2-day course in Melbourne. So I joined applied and got it. And then this year I won the scholarship with the Australian Women in Distilling Association for the distillery school at Old Kempton.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. And that's where I was saying that I felt really reassured. But it was so cool to go to all these different distilleries, see the setups, try their whiskies, which are extraordinary. you're talking about tradition before, and I find this really interesting. Old Kempton teaches this. It's a pretty formulaic way of making their whiskey.
Yep.
And I tried their whiskey, and I was just so blown away. I was just thought it was extraordinary. And then we visited all these other distilleries, and a lot of them, they're all using the same still maker. They've all got the same setups. They've all got the same ways of doing things. And it was quite formulaic. And then you'd come across someone like Clara or Peter Bignell, and you'd be like, wow, now here's a bit of creative genius. Here's a bit of lifelong experience, and you could tell because his setup.
Mad scientist goes in there as well.
Yeah.
He's a mad scientist. Absolutely.
That's something which is very, I find fascinating. Is you have Tasmania, which is the spiritual home of whiskey, and all whiskey distillers acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
And it's so cool when you go to Tasmania because you almost feel like you're coming home. It's quite a surreal experience, right? And we have a lot of friends in Tasmania. What has happened in Tasmania is exactly what you said, though. People trained in Tasmania, and for want of a better name, the Lark way, the Bill Lark approach, for want of a better name, right? And then went off and went, that's what I want to do. So then they went off and got the same still. They had the same mash bill. They had the same cuts. They same barrel supply, everything. So Tasmania sort of evolved into a Tasmanian flavor profile, a signature, which they're trying to protect under an appellation as Tasmania whiskey. When you come to the mainland, it's totally different. Every distiller is using a different still, different location, different barrels, different yeasts. So on the mainland, what's developed is an incredibly diverse style of making Australian whiskey. And a good example is we're in Cabarita, and 3 hours down the road is Brian from Blackgate. Totally different whiskies. Totally different whiskies, right? If I go to Sydney, Archie Rose, totally different whiskies. OCD, totally different whiskies. Different stills, everything's different. Whereas Tasmania, it's more tighter as far as the flavor profile. Now that is changing, in my opinion. The likes of Warb Harbour and what they're producing now. Clara, as you said, Christy, I love her pastry notes on her whiskey. Just love her pastry notes. Furno in Flinders Island. I think they're part of Tasmania. Flinders.
Yeah.
So much diversity is starting to happen now in Tasmania, but it's almost like another phase of Tasmanian whiskey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I guess I was impressed by everybody and by everything.
Yeah.
When I leave, what stays in my mind, the ones that I remember the strongest, is Clara. She had manufactured her still with specific specifications that were different to everybody else. And obviously Peter Bignell, because he's an engineering creative physics genius, and so he had obviously all his different ways of doing things, and they stuck out in my mind because they were original and they were true to themselves as an individual. Their identity as in their spirits and in their whiskey, and it's their own. And that resonates with me. I like that. No,
I agree. Did you get?
Speaking of identity,
oh, there we are. There's a plug for our friend. Yeah. Did you get to? Did you get to Hobart? John Jarvis?
No.
You have to go see John Jarvis because he's also a legend.
Sir John Jarvis.
Sir John Jarvis.
Sir John Jarvis. He will be a guest presenter on Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit down the track. By the way, how long have we crapped on?
We've crapped on for not crapped on. We've done deep dives and but I mean,
this is great, Keri. This is a really very interesting episode. We're having a lot of fun.
I still have more questions.
Yeah, go.
But now I've forgotten what the fuck I was going to say.
Rum, whiskey, spirits.
Shit.
Travel. Where do you want to go overseas
Fuck,
besides
it'll come
Spain?
back to me. Damn it.
You want to go to the Caribbean? And what do you think? What is Richard Seal?
Oh, don't know. I don't know much about that really, which is a bit embarrassing.
So in whiskey world, there's a guy called Mark Rainier, who is a revolutionary anti-establishment individual, I would say. Awesome guy, and we are going to get him on Aussie Craft Distiller Shit and Shit. In rum world, the equivalent is Richard Seal.
He's Barbados, is that right?
Yeah, but I think it's Barbados. Arrogant, bombastic, opinionated. Makes world-class whiskey. Rum, great singer. Yeah, no, maybe not. Anyway, that's my dream. One of my dream guests is to get Richard Seal on and do a rum session with him, because he is so transparent and brutal.
Well, that would be fascinating. Yeah. I would go anywhere in the world right now. I haven't traveled for 3 years or more, and I used to travel a lot. A lot for work, for pleasure, and everything. And now I just sort of hibernate in my garage
around the warmth of the still.
Right, so
I remember what I was going to say.
It isn't required in central.
No, not required in northern New South Wales. I want to actually circle back to, because I found Pink Boots, which I've never heard of.
No.
And I think sounds like a fucking awesome idea and an awesome organization. Can you tell us a bit more about the Pink Boots Society?
Yeah, it's the Pink Boots is an American organization that supports women in the craft brewing industry, really, for craft beer over there. And they've got different branches around the world. There we go. Yep. Including
pinkbootsociety.org. And then there is actually a pinkbootsociety.com.au, which is the website doesn't have a lot of information at the moment, but it's the 10th anniversary, apparently.
Yeah, I think it might have been the anniversary last year, but run by a lot of volunteers and things. And they send out monthly newsletters. There are forums online where you can ask, kind of like the ADI in the US for brewers and for women, where they can share information and ask questions around not just making but marketing, selling. They can offer jobs online, and really just to give women a leg up in the booze industry where they haven't been particularly well represented historically. And they have branched out into, they had this distilling scholarship in Australia. So I jumped on that, obviously. Yeah.
and did you find that via the American site, or how did you get onto that scholarship?
I think I might have seen it pop up on Facebook.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a Facebook group for the Australian Pink Boots Society.
There's a Facebook page, definitely an Instagram page, because when I did the course, I put up shared a lot of content with them as a gratitude. And
there we go. There is a Pink Boots Australia. Yes.
They were really awesome to deal with. Really, really supportive, really positive, really fun, and very generous.
Yeah, right.
Really appreciate that.
Well, definitely. So just for all those playing at home, I've just put the Pink Boots Society Australia Facebook link into the chat. So please jump on there. I will flash it up on screen as well. I think that's oh no, wrong one. Hold on. Let me paste. I think that's important.
Well done, Mark.
Yeah, that's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Hey,
this is, hang on, I'll just quickly, Keri. So this is Winding Road whiskey. So this is Mark Awood.
And it's yum.
This was, I think this is probably his second release or something. He's played around with mash bill and different barrels. Straight out of the starting blocks. Mate, awesome.
Yeah, that was really yummy.
Awesome. Really awesome. Really awesome. And it's so good to see a diversity of flavor in whiskey.
Yeah.
That's what really excites me.
So Phil Brain says Pink Boots had a number of ladies at the IBD conference in Adelaide.
Cool.
That's something I'm going to research a little bit more. I had not heard of that before. I want to know more.
Right. Now, I'd like to say something too about Aussie Craft Distillers shooting the shit. So for those that don't know, Todd and I went down to the Australian Distillers Association conference down in Melbourne about, Todd, 4 weeks ago?
3.
Jeez, it's a blur. It's an absolute blur.
At the beginning of April, whatever that is.
Yep. So when I started back in 2015, there was officially about 60 distillers in Australia. There's now at the ADA conference, I think the number was about 550 distilleries that are ADA members. You can add on another 100 odd plus more, maybe even more. Someone told me 800 Australian distillers as a number, and this guy's done his research. Anyway, the conference was amazing, fantastic. Lots of new people, exciting. Lots of established people, exciting. Lots of great spirits, whether it's whiskey, rum, gin, whatever it was awesome. But one of the great takeouts for us personally was we started Aussie Craft Distillers shooting the shit 3 years ago now. We're into our third year. And it started purely that I was pissed off that it was during COVID and larger spirits companies were looking for content for Zoom and they were interviewing Australian distillers, and it was the most sterile, unengaging, interviews possible. All right. And then Todd, myself, and Luke talked and went, fuck, we know enough people in the industry. Why can't we just talk amongst ourselves and get the stories out about Australian distillers? And we're up to episode 50 tonight, so it's an anniversary for us.
It is.
But the big thing that came out of the conference was the amount of people that came up to us and said, we love it. We love it as new guys, and we love it as seasoned individuals. We want it. We want more. And the challenge that we have is it's only the three of us, and this is our part-time gig. This is not our revenue gig. Believe me.
Believe me.
But we do have some sponsors. Anyway,
yeah.
The guts of it is I came away and I talked to Todd and said, we need to do this weekly. And Todd,
joy, I said.
Huh?
Oh, joy, I said.
Yeah, oh, joy, he said.
I think I went, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, you went like that. And so I'm the man of many ideas, some good, some bad. Yes. But what I did propose is that we assemble a group of guest presenters. And that is exactly what we've done. So we are now going to drop in from May to a weekly format. Yeah. And we are going to have guest presenters. How many guests? Do you know the list of the guest presenters?
I have it.
Now we'll tell you who the guest presenters are.
Hold on. We're going to announce the guest presenters, whether they know they are guest presenters or not.
Only Ben was the only one who didn't.
if you don't know you're a guest presenter,
this is our guest presenters as a rotation over like a 3-month period.
Yeah, so we've got Sir John Jarvis from Hobart Distillery, who is the strongest man alive.
Yep.
He makes knives.
He makes great whiskey too.
Him
and Dave and his team.
Well, watch the episode.
Actually, I don't think John does anything apart from
whiskey and
anyway.
Shit.
We got another 20-odd guests, and Keri's getting bored.
Yeah.
No.
Go.
So John Jarvis, we've got Brad Wright, who's
Brad Wright, Single Malt Whiskey Club.
I hope he talked to you about that, Brad. Sorry if he didn't.
Yeah. No, he knows. He knows. Yep.
Ali Ayres from Karoo.
Yep. Ali Ayres from Karoo. And they make rum as well.
They do.
Yep.
Lee Atwood from Backwards.
Lee Atwood and Dean.
So
it's a dynamic duo. They will spend most of the episode hanging on each other.
Are they going to be together?
Yeah.
Right, that was a condition. Okay.
Yeah. They're gonna hang shit on each other, so I don't think they'll cover much. But anyway, carry on.
That's right. Nico
from
AWAS.
AWAS, Australian Whiskey Appreciation Society.
So
Ollie.
do we put Nico and Ollie on at the same time?
No, they're on separate ones. Ollie Maruda from the whiskey list.
Yep. Ben 10, Ben Osborne from the Gin Appreciation Society.
Make things like this.
And Unicorn Spirits and Cheers, mate, and
Sparkles.
other things.
Yeah, I've got. There you go. Look,
Keep your focus.
the Yuzu.
I've got that downstairs.
Yeah,
Every second week he's releasing yet another distillery brand.
Another brand, another distillery, another. He's the most entrepreneurial bloke you'll ever
He is the most entrepreneurial distiller out there for sure.
Yeah.
Next, who's
hold
next?
on.
Oh.
So Yuzu and gin, I've been pouring this at the Easter show, and I've been giving this to people who go, don't like gin, don't like it.
Yeah.
And I said, not anymore. And I pour them a bit of that, and I go,
You tell him.
holy fucking shit!
You tell him.
It's good. It's good.
Who else?
Matt Whisker.
Matt Whisker. Matt Whisker is Whiskey Uncovered. He has his own events. A person in the Sydney space, events space, whiskey lover, great guy.
And then we've got Mick and Mel from Imbue.
Mick and Mel from Imbue Distillery down in Melbourne. Brandy, whiskey, and gin.
And they were actually, you know what we haven't done? We still haven't had their barrel aged gin.
No, we need to try that.
It's still here.
Another night.
Yep.
So they are a dynamic duo.
FYI, I've also got Karu's Ginski.
Oh, cool. I've been waiting for that. Yep.
Yeah. And then we've got
Fiona Beasley, who is an identity in the spirits industry, and she's brand ambassador for Coburn's whiskey.
Yep.
Next.
No,
That's it. That's it. So
What?
we've assembled a fantastic team of people that will be co-presenters.
It's going to be like herding cats. I can see it now.
Yeah.
And the responsibility for herding the cats is with the man on the right. I'm the ideas person.
I can hardly wait. Every day I get yet another guest presenter and guest speaker.
Let me just explain how this works.
It's good. I don't have any idea.
He says, this person's going to be a guest presenter. Todd and I say, all right, okay, do they know yet? And then it's up to Todd and I to figure out, okay, how the fuck do we do this? Because you can't press the buttons.
I'm not a button presser.
You press my buttons.
I'm the ideas man.
No, you press buttons. You press all the fucking buttons.
One of his life skills is to press buttons, this boy.
Yeah. Oh,
right, wind it up.
Let's
let Keri go to bed.
Keri, thank you so much.
Yeah, that
been.
It was fun, Keri. It really was. We really
been wonderful chatting.
Genuinely
with you.
enjoyed it.
Stick around after we wrap up, and we'll have a bit more of a chat. If
you were fast hanging on for the last 15 minutes, we almost got to the longest.
Look, I can stretch
No.
Right.
Wind it up.
Okay, so please like and subscribe. Please visit. Hold on, I'm going to flash it up on the screen. CabaritaDistillery.com.
No,
What?
No.
it's CabaritaSpirits.com.
Fuck! I copied it.
Oh, you stuffed it up.
I fuck it. Hold on.
Oh, was it me?
No, it was Crafty.
It was not.
Yeah, you interrupted them.
No, you did. You did it wrong.
It wasn't me.
It was you.
Oh,
No,
Jesus.
I'm blaming you. You don't stop pressing buttons.
This is why I don't press buttons.
If you do not go to Cabarita Distillery because that probably won't
Anyway, yeah.
Fucking shit.
You did it
Yes.
again.
No, I didn't. That's
Yeah,
right.
go to this
Oh,
one.
Sorry. Okay.
You have more luck going there.
and I'm meant to be the fucking IT guy. Jesus shit.
Hey, thank you guys so much.
No worries. Thank you so much. Please visit cabaritaspirits.com. 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 And been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Who we got next? Is it locked in?
Look, it's always a potluck
No, it's
as
not.
to whether we're locked in or
No,
not.
Todd's
We're
organising.
not locked in. The next one is our friend over in Germany, which you need to organise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that
So
first.
TBA. Germany's. Sometimes we do internationals, and Germany's a bit harder. So from a time zone perspective.
We look the next episode. No, just flash that away. You don't need to keep on flashing that up. Stop it. I can turn your internet off.
Oh, please don't.
And
It's working relatively okay right at the moment since I cut the trees.
All right. We have a very special guest, hopefully, if you can arrange it.
Yeah.
For the 27th.
Yep.
That'll be quite interesting.
Oh, hang on. So that's after our Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit event.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we've got one more thing to plug.
Yeah.
One more thing to plug. I don't know what the ticket sales are like.
They're pretty well done.
Are they done?
Almost. Carry
Oh,
on.
we'll put it up. So we have on
Have a look. I like this.
on the 26th of April, we will all be at the Oak Barrel in Sydney, doing a tasting of Waterford.
The Irish Distillery
I just
Waterford.
realised it's going to be a really busy day for one individual in the room.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, me.
What do you
What
got?
about you?
No, sorry. So
Are you
just
who?
for those that are in the know, we have our Waterford event on the 26th.
Yep.
Some bullfeed is then driving to Canberra to do a special event down there on the 27th.
No, that's next week.
It's on the 27th, I believe.
No, it's on the 20th.
All right. Yep.
Fuck.
I reckon Todd's going to be right.
Talk about.
Fuck.
Talk about.
So we are going to be
And
tasting.
then on the 27th that evening, somewhere between Canberra and Capertee, we'll have a guest presenter.
Okay, so all right, let's clarify.
No, hold on. Let's just finish up on Waterford
Oh,
first.
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So, the
27th, Waterford.
No, the 26th is the 26th is Waterford.
Sorry, 26.
27th is us.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah,
26.
26
Go.
is
26. 26.
Go to theoakbarrel.com.
Hey, Keri.
If there are tickets, great. If there are not, I'm sorry.
So this is
Too late.
Aussie Craft Distillers.
Okay,
Shooting
so
the Shit.
is there a chance to buy the home
Still can buy it. So Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit, first event with the Oak Barrel collaboration, and we are presenting Waterford Distillery, the Irish distillery, the most, in my
Irish distillery?
opinion, one of the most progressive distilleries on the planet.
Yeah.
In conjunction with Waterford, this is the first public tasting of Waterford, and we're doing it purely for the love of Waterford. And Dave Withers from Archie Rose will join me, as well as Nick Hope from Dusty Barrel down in Victoria, who's training up overnight just to do this event.
We're not paying for that, are we?
I haven't checked.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's the Waterford night. This is a big night.
Yeah.
Waterford is the distillery that was created by Mark Rainier, who is the ultimate rebel. Yeah, he's the ultimate rebel in the whiskey world globally. He is totally focused on terroir and barley is important in making whiskey. An amazing guy. We will have him on Shooting the Shit. We've got that arranged later in the year. But this is a in-house tasting, 40 people and 40 kits.
Yeah.
And
of 4 different Waterford whiskies.
Of 4 different Waterford whiskies
that you cannot buy in Australia.
that have come straight from Waterford Distillery.
Yep.
And to be totally honest, knowing Waterford, they're probably already sold out. So these will be very unique tastings.
Probably.
It's almost sold out, yeah. So anyway, that's our plug.
Yes. So I have put the link into the chat, please. I mean, good luck. Really. It's probably already sold out.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there for almost 2 hours.
Good night, all.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you.
Please hit cabaritaspirits.com, cabaritaspirits.com. And Brad Wright's coming. Excellent. All right. Cheers, all.